in business for sure. Wow, I was getting scared there. I'm like, man, you mean I got Minda Harts here and I can't talk to her?
We're back. We're live.
I love it. I love it. So what's going on with you? How's everything?
Everything is good, Kenneth. The book is out. Thank you for having me on, and I can't wait to talk all things Talk to Me Nice.
Well, look, I'm excited to have you here. I want to talk about the book, but I also want to talk about what you've been up to. What's going on?
Wow. So since I've seen you, I moved from Harlem to LA. So I'm on the West Coast and out here just working on films. I have two short films in festivals right now and still working on my leadership, trying to make the workplace better than I found it.
I love it. I love it. Well, it looks like you're doing exactly that and getting people excited. I keep looking at Instagram and I keep looking at LinkedIn. I'm seeing people waving the book and doing all of that stuff. So everybody's supporting you. You know, that's one of the things I really admire about you and the work you do. People really have kind of just attached to it and they're really hearing your message.
They really are. I mean, I always say that success is not a solo sport, and I wouldn't be here without people like yourself and others who see the value in my work. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Man, definitely see the value in your work. Let's talk about it. So the book came out when?
Last Tuesday,
Last Tuesday. So it's been really crazy for you, I would imagine.
I've been all over the place this past week, so it feels good to sit down and have this talk with you.
Right. Let's talk about what's happening. So tell me, walk me through this, right? So how did you come up with this particular book?
Yeah, you'll find this funny, Kenneth. I call this my crossover album. You know, most of my books have been centered around women of color in the workplace. And this book is about trust, which also includes, you know, what women of color need to trust in the workplace. But trust is a global language. Trust hits people in Tokyo, it hits people in Brazil, it hits people in North Dakota. And so for me, I wanted to talk about an issue that we all face inside the workplace, and that's erosions of trust, be it intentionally or unintentionally. And we all lean into the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. And I said, you know what? We need 7 languages for the workplace on when trust falls to the wayside and how we restore it. And so that's why I created the 7 trust languages for a better workplace.
I love it. It makes complete sense to me. You know, following up on some of the work that you've done in the past, I was really excited about this, but let's just back up a little. How many books has this been for you?
This is my fourth book, four books in 5.5 years.
4 books in 5.5 years. So you are just moving through it and doing the things that you do best. All right. All right. You know, I want to go back to 2018. I think it was 2018. Was it 2018? When did the memo come out?
2019.
2019.
Hmm.
And we were sitting in that green room on 116th Street getting ready for TEDxHarlem, and you were going to do your talk on leadership. If you have not checked out Minda's TEDx on leadership, please do that. It's on YouTube. Google Minda Harts, YouTube, TEDxHarlem. It'll touch down. But you were sitting there and you looked like you were on a mission. And I just didn't know the mission was like rocket fuel. You literally like just start really doing your thing. The memo came out and you rolled with it. And then you left us and kind of moved out west, but we stayed connected. And I'm just excited about all of that and just hearing about how that process has been for you. Did you always want to be an author?
I've always been a writer. I'll say that. Ever since I was young, I'd be in my room with my notepad and just writing poems and short stories. So, but I never thought that I would do it for a living. It was just something that I always enjoyed doing. And then, you know, being in corporate America for such a long time, I found writing to be therapeutic. And so when I started my blog back in 2015, I never knew that it would turn into being a best-selling book called The Memo.
Wow, amazing, amazing. You know, just in doing that work and then just speaking about that and kind of just staying focused, how were you able to really kind of stay kind of, I guess, in touch with what people wanted from you, what you wanted from yourself, and staying true to that, of course, right? Because I see you moving around at different companies and talking your talk and doing the things that you do. Um, how did that work for you? Just being on those stages, you know, I can understand it's so different to do the corporate stage thing versus speaking directly to maybe your audience.
Mhm.
So can you talk to me about how you kind of have adjusted to be able to bring a message like this one about trust that's probably needed for everyone?
Yes, trust is needed in every industry, every sector, every age, every demographic. And so for me, I realized that, I had a lot of success with the memo and right within and you are more than magic, but there was only a certain group of people that kind of gravitated to that type of conversation. And what I wanted to do was expand the table to say, we all know what trust feels like when it's there, and we all know what it feels like when it's gone. And so, how can I bring everyone to the table to talk about the erosions and how we build better? And if we can all start from that ground level, then we can solve some of the other issues that people don't want to talk about out loud these days. We can root it in trust and respect, and I think we'll get back to center about some of the conversations that aren't being talked about as much.
All right, so let's talk about it, right? So let's talk about the book. Let's just drill down a little more here. How can leaders use the seven trust languages to build high trust, high impact teams in today's workplace?
Okay, well, let's start with what they are. So, the seven trust languages are transparency, that's clarity and honesty, security, your intellectual, physical, and emotional safety and belonging in the workplace, demonstration, that's doing what you say, feedback, is that meaningful and consistent insight, acknowledgement, and this is my trust language, a side note. Acknowledgement is seeing people and their work. Sensitivity is being emotionally and culturally aware. And yeah, and so those are the seven trust languages. And I hope that people will start to use them. They'll identify what their language is, and then also identify what the language is of other people, because I feel like when we are intentional about restoring trust or creating trust, then we have to speak it in a way that people can understand.
Well, you know what? Yeah, speak it in a way that people can understand, and just thinking about that, as organizations are making shifts, and people need to move and shift with organizations as well, or organizations need to move and shift with the culture, right?
Mhm.
So when you're talking about an inclusion or true equity conversation, tell me a little bit about how trust plays in to that dynamic.
Yeah, and one that I forgot to mention is follow through, is that keeping your word. And I think a lot of people value that. But transparency is one of my favorite trust languages, because who doesn't value clarity and honesty? And I think the misconception that leaders have is that if we say too much or we give too much information, then that's going to create chaos, or we only tell you when you need to know. And actually, just like Jack Nicholson said in the movie, you can't handle the truth. People can handle the truth. Okay, they can handle the truth. They want the truth. If we're returning back to the office, let's talk about the why, right? So that people can settle in. If we're no longer focusing on diversity initiatives that we were before, tell us that, but tell us the why and say, okay, even though we may not call it this anymore, we still value you as a woman. We still value you as someone with a disability, right? This is still an inclusive environment. Let's say that, right? I think that too often it's hiding the elephant in the room, and people just want honesty. If layoffs are coming, say that, right? But also say, if you don't have the information available right now, but we'll follow up when we have it, that's also being transparent. And I just feel like we forget that people are human first and employees second, and so we can't treat people like robots at work.
Makes complete sense to me. So just in speaking about that, right? So you just all right. I want to shift gears a little if you don't mind, because I'm
Let's
thinking
do it.
about something here that I wanted to share with you. So, I understand some of the other books and kind of maybe the inspiration behind it, but what inspired this book? How do like this seems to be a shift or a pivot in a different direction to me, and not I haven't read all four of your books. I believe it's four, right? Did you say it was
Mhm.
four? Yes.
Yeah,
But
4.
what inspired this particular book?
I just think, Kenneth, that where we are in the workplace right now, it's we need trust, and trust has to be the main character. It can't be the side check. It can't be left in the car when we go inside the building. And we all want trust at work. And trust isn't just nice to have; it's good for the bottom line. Data says that. And so I wanted to be able to root a business book, a career book, in something that impacts us all. When And funny because I do a lot of speaking at companies, and I'll have people come to me and say, oh, I don't trust my manager, or I don't trust HR, I don't trust a colleague. And when I started to think about what they were really saying and asking more questions, what they were saying was there was an expectation gap. How I want you to show me trust, you don't know that yet, right? So how can someone show you transparency if they don't know that you value that, right? How can somebody automatically know that feedback is meaningful to you if you don't articulate that? So I think it's less of a trust issue at work, and it's a communication crisis. So how do we articulate our wants and needs so that people know that that's how you build trust with me?
Yeah, if there's a breakdown in communication, it's kind of hard to establish trust, I would imagine, right?
It is. And what happens when trust is eroded? 9 times out of 10, we don't even speak about it. We just sweep it under the rug, and now resentment starts to build, right? And I think that whether we're eroding trust intentionally or unintentionally, there are ways to make the workplace better. And some of those erosions are, micromanaging, not taking accountability, omitting information, the white lies that are told, in the workplace. All of these things can be fixed if we're intentional about it.
Being intentional, I think that's such a key thing. It seems like you've been really intentional about some of the content and the information you're sharing publicly with people. And I think this book really kind of shows some growth in the direction that you've went in with your content and your audience in general. Do you see this bringing you even closer to your audience as you start to have the trust conversation? You just said something that I thought was extremely interesting. People are coming to you speaking about not trusting people on their team. So people that may not know you as well as they know the people on their team are still kind of coming out and verbalizing that they feel some trust issues and maybe a lack of EQ in some spaces. So how's that feel? Is that like mission accomplished for you?
Well, it'd be mission accomplished if every workplace gets talk to me nice and start to communicate better with each other. But I feel like I've built a brand that people trust me, and that feels good, right?
Mm.
And I think that that's what we want from our leaders. That's what we want from the people that we care about. And I always, regardless of if the subject is changing, but the core root of what I've always talked about is how we build trust, right? But now I have more men that read my book because trust is eroded for some of them, so I love that we can all root the conversation in a universal issue.
Wow, that's a very good point. You're coming in a universal issue, right? Trust. So if we take that being big picture, right? How
Mhm.
do you incorporate that into some of the work that the Memo LLC is doing?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that I do at the Memo is I do a lot of talks about self advocacy in the workplace. And essentially, what this book is, it's advocating for what trust looks like for you, right? What would it look like for a manager who knows that trust is shaky on their team to say, what do you need from me to be best supported while you're in your role? When you ask that question, you're going to find out the ways in which trust is high for someone, and it probably falls in one of the 7 buckets of the trust languages. And I feel like that's important for a woman of color, that's important for a baby boomer, it's important for all of us. And so again, you may not understand what it's like for me to be a Black woman in the workplace, but you sure know what it feels like when trust is eroded, and that we can both put our flags down and have more important conversations that are rooted in dignity and humanity and respect.
I love it. I love it. Listen, so I'm just curious, what when you're packaging this together, what's the first step that organizations that are looking to kind of work with you, they hear the message, they want to bring this into a more personal level and possibly bring you in to deliver it. How do they what's the first step that they should do if they want to work with you to build better workplaces?
Oh, well, thank you for asking, Kenneth. And one of the things that I'm doing right now is working with a lot of law firms and Fortune 100 and 500 companies. Is I created a game out of the 7 trust languages. So companies are bringing me in to play the trust catalyst, and we go through how you identify the 7 trust languages. So think Uno and Vegas meet, and I play it virtual and in person. And it's been such a fun way for people to exercise these languages in real time and think about those small ways that we can build trust every day. It's not always the grand acts of betrayal, but it's those little moments, right, that go unheard and start to fester. So I'm having a great conversation with a lot of companies and playing this trust interactive keynote game. And so I hope people will reach out and get the book and also bring me in to do the talk.
Man, I love it. I love it. You gamified this conversation, and I can appreciate that. Listen, we're here with Minda Harts on WPPM 106.5 FM, LP Philadelphia. I'm Kenneth L. Johnson. This is the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. Minda, all right, what's next? What's happening? Like I know you just released this book, right? But tell me a little bit about what's on your mind. Where are we taking this to?
We're only to the top. You know how it goes, Kenneth. But
Yes.
one of the things that I'm a multi-hyphenate, and so also I have. We talked about the memo at the top of the show, and that's in film festivals right now. Kyla Pratt, who many people know, is playing me in the memo, and so we'll be at Martha's Vineyard Film Festival in a couple weeks, and then also my other short called The Distance Between that I wrote, produced, and directed, and self-funded. That's out in film festival, and so come link up with me, be it through books or through film and TV. But I'm here to show what leadership looks like in a variety of ways.
All right, you just sent the shock to me right there, right? So I knew about the memo, but I didn't know about this other short. Talk to me.
Yeah, well, so The Distance Between is about the highs and lows of friendship, and sometimes it takes a lot of work to keep up with our friendships. I'm sure your listeners can think, and you too, Kenneth, about those friendships that we thought would be ride or die forever, and now we don't even know their kids, all the kids' names, right? So it's just these things. Life gets in the way, and so I think where our climate is right now, community is so important, and I wanted to showcase the beauty of friendships, but also the heartbreaks of friendship, and that's why I called it The Distance Between.
Well, you're definitely right about that. You know, the show, we brand the show as a center for career, culture, and community. We understand the importance of all three as we all navigate this space we call the workplace. And it's great to know that you're out here helping guide people and even providing roadmaps to those that may seem a little lost in this process. I know that seems kind of heavy, but you carry it extremely well, my friend.
Well, thank you for always seeing me and acknowledging me and just always being a support system. So I appreciate you. When no one knew anything about me, you were one of those people that saw me. And so thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think everybody knew about you. It's just about believing, right? And I always believed that you would make this happen, but exceeded. Wow, you've exceeded that expectation by 10 at least. That's amazing, the work you're doing. So proud of you. You know what? I saw a post that you shared recently the other day, and I'd love for you to share that story with our audience. I believe it was your grandmother was at a book signing. Talk to us about that.
Yes, we had our first book stop in Los Angeles at the Reparations Club, and my grandmother, who was 84 years old, she came out to the book event and she brought a couple books, and I said, how do you want me to sign it, Granny? And she said, sign it Irma's granddaughter. And I'm just so proud that she got to be there and get to share seeing her granddaughter, her oldest grandchild, and first one to graduate from college, and just move in the way that I am. And so it just felt really, really good to have her there.
Man, I love it. Let the audience know. Listen, so there's a couple different things. You got any plans to be in Philly? You going to be promoting the book here?
We are coming to DC soon, and so I'm going to have to skirt over to Philly. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, maybe you'll come through on a Monday. We'll do this again, right?
Right. We'll make it happen.
Live in studio with Minda Harts. Yeah, I think we can make that happen.
Give some books away. I got you.
Yeah. All right. Listen. All right. So I'd love for you to let the audience know where they can find this particular book, where they can find all of your work. Can they go directly to your website?
They can go directly to my website, mindaharts.com, and you can also follow me on LinkedIn. And then wherever you like to buy your books, go and get that book. First week out the gate is really important. So I hope that and if you're not in a position to buy it, call your local library and make sure they have it.
I love it. Local libraries, indeed. Please support these libraries out here. Listen, it's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. We're on with Minda Harts. It's been amazing. It's always amazing every time I link up with you and we do something publicly. on these platforms that we both all love the importance of them. Where's the next stop? Where you headed?
Next stop is Martha's Vineyard. So if people are on the vineyard coming up, we'll be there for the memo short. So, but link up with me on LinkedIn. You can catch up with me, and also my website again, mindaharts.com.
Going to be amazing. Once again, Minda Harts, thank you so very much for coming on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. I appreciate you, sis.
Thank you, bro. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, that is what we do on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. We tap in with voices that are kind of moving the culture, moving workplace forward. What we like to do here on this show as well. So we're on a good run. Nicole Smith, Minda Harts. Who's next? I'm not even exactly sure. Been having some really interesting conversations about some people that want to come through and have some conversations with us about a lot of different things. I think a real conversation that needs to be had next may be the conversation about AI and talent acquisition. As we start to work our way through the summer months and people start to get very serious about their job search again, I think it's really important to let people know that things have changed a little, even over the last few months, in the ways that companies not only review resumes, but source talent, look for talent, interview talent. And I think people should be very aware of some of the changes that are taking place in the talent acquisition and recruitment landscape. So I really would like to expand on that conversation. I have a gentleman that I'm speaking to this week about coming on next Monday. So with that being said, please stay locked in to the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. Listen, if you want to have career or job search related questions answered, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, 646-600-8510. Once again, 646-600-8510. Support my family here at Philly Cam by tuning in if you're in Philly on 106.5 FM, or you can listen live at phillycam.org /listen. Once again, phillycam.org/listen, or you can lock in with us on social media on Instagram at the KLJ Show, or you can even lock in at WPPM FM on Instagram as well. Our goal is to be your source for career, culture, and community. Yeah, I know we had some bumps at the beginning of the show with Minda's mic and things of that nature, but we're getting it together and we're bringing you some of the best information you can find online. And with that being said, I'd like to thank you again for joining us for another Monday. We're going to do it again next Monday. Excited about what that's going to bring and excited about all of you. So please have a great day. And remember, the Kenneth L. Johnson Show is your source for career, culture, and community. I'm Kenneth L. Johnson. I'll see you next Monday. Thank you. Live on WPPM LP, Philadelphia 106.5 FM.